All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here at Free, and I'm here with Abby Alt, the lead of our
Hello.
home team. Thank you for being here, Abby.
Thank you for having me.
Where's Chase? Chase is also the co-lead of the home team. He's probably out there
He's out there doing
home
greeting
teamish
stuff.
things like he does. Hey, listen, y'all, we are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there is one thing we do not do. And y'all can shout it out on the count of three, all four words. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame. I love it.
Hey, that was good.
We don't do shame here at Free. But we do some other things, don't we, Abby? And you're going to tell us all about it.
Yes. So if this is your first time joining us here at Free, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Outside of these doors, you will find some welcome bags with some freshly roasted wagon coffee, some free swag, and a Connect card. If you wouldn't mind just filling out that information, we'd love to keep you connected with all the happenings here at Free. Also, to let you know, there was an email that went out regarding a panel discussion for May 11th that has been postponed. And the reason being is that it's an incredibly important discussion that we want to have here at Free. So we're just waiting for the right time. And this is on combating predatory behavior in the addiction and recovery world. So stay tuned. We don't have an upcoming date as of yet, but we will send out information once we do have a new assigned
Probably
date.
sometime this summer is what I'm thinking. But
Perfect.
We'll keep you all in the loop.
And then also, we are still needing volunteers for the kids' room for the 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock service. So typically I would tell you to go see Connor, but he's not here tonight, right?
Yes, Connor's off tonight. But we have volunteers back there.
We have volunteers back there. So you can either go talk to a volunteer in the kids' room to sign up, speak to myself, or look for Connor next week.
Yes. Thank you, Abby.
My pleasure.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes, let's clap for Abby. Hey, there's one other thing I want to let y'all know about, kind of exciting news. I figured I should at least share it with y'all as a community. I put it on my Facebook page, but I will be co-leading a trip to the Holy Land in about 1 year from now, Israel, Palestine, and Jordan. If this has been something like a bucket list item for you, well, it's going to happen. I'm co-leading this trip with a good friend of mine, Dr. Tom Phillips. He is also my former New Testament professor. He is a peer-reviewed New Testament scholar and scholar of the Holy Land, so he knows some stuff about what he's talking about. So it will be a great trip. If you want to sign up for that, I'm not like trying to manipulate y'all, but this trip will fill up quick. We are limiting it to 20 people, so if you're wanting to go, don't hesitate. Better sign up. Talk to me afterwards if you want to go, or shoot me an email this week. Call me, text me, Facebook message me, Instagram me, whatever y'all do. Just do that. It's going to be all kinds of fun. Hey, last week, do you all remember what last week was? Thank you. The comeback. Yes, that was our theme for last week. We had a couple of comeback stories. Chase and Abby's son was one of them. He got up here, remember, he read some beautiful words about his parents and the comeback they've made in recovery. And then Jess got up here and said some words about her fiance, Austin, being 10 months sober and being a comeback story. And someone asked me, hey, is this something we're doing all the time, or is this like a one-off? And I said, you know what? It had some power to it. So maybe we should do it again, and we'll see where it goes from here. But Lauren Nelson came in this week to say some words about her husband, Brandon. We caught it on video. He's our softball coach of the Free softball team, and here's Lauren.
Your dad passed away when you were 17 years old. You lost 2 close friends in your early to mid-20s. That's when you started spiraling down. And when your brother died, you hit rock bottom and lost all hope, emotionally disconnected from the world due to the immense grief. Listening to those painful late-night sobs, excruciating deep cries, paralyzed with agony, you desperately needed relief. Anything to numb the pain and forget the reminders of what you have lost. The ugly, nasty, hurtful words, arguments, and stress that took place, you wouldn't remember this as you were blacked out. The shame and guilt you lived with, the fear your family had of possibly losing you. Kids wondering if dad is going to be sad, angry, or present at all after having many drinks. Your brain had been hijacked by a powerful substance. It was easy to ask, where is God in all this? About to lose everything, including yourself. You finally had enough, and had the courage to get help. Your journey to wellness began. You got sober and continued to work your program. You dove right back into life head on. Hope was restored. We now have amazing conversations at the dinner table with our kids. You show up and make us feel safe. I love hearing you laugh and play with our kids. I'm inspired by the business you built and admire the community you created that consists of meaningful relationships. You give back so generously without expecting anything. You coach and play on a sober softball team instead of being blacked out on our couch. The wonderful transformation we get to witness on a daily basis is such a gift. You now see the value of life, and we get the best version of you. Dang, God was in all this after all, and we're grateful for that. Brandon, you are a comeback story.
Woo-woo! Brandon, a comeback story. We celebrate that stuff around here. And speaking of celebrations, that's how we get started on a Saturday night. We take 3 minutes for this to lift up the good, to start with the good. Maybe it's a sobriety, birthday, anniversary, new kids, new jobs, new homes, the new thing in life that we get to celebrate together. And we believe that God joins with us in the celebration. So it's an important part of our time together. We take 3 minutes for this. Welcome to you online people. You are us. We're glad you're here. If you're joining us online, you can drop your celebrations in the Facebook comments, the YouTube comments, wherever you're joining us from. And we want to celebrate with you there. So Calvin will pass a mic. Ben will pass a mic. And let's get this party started. Take 3.
My name's James, and I got 30 days today.
All right, James.
Sober.
My name is Paige, and I got 2 years this past Tuesday.
Way to go, Paige.
My name is Layla, and I've got 34 days sober today.
All right.
I'm Dara, and I'm celebrating both of my parents being here from Atlanta in this room with us tonight.
Welcome, Mom and Dad.
My name is Larry, 61 days today.
All right.
My name's Madison, and I won the science fair.
Way to go, Madison. Proud of you, girl.
Matt has 34 days sober today.
All right, Matt. Way to go, dude. Y'all getting all bashful on us now?
I'm Kai, and I have 29 days sober today.
All right. Way to go, Kai.
All the way in the back.
All the way.
Hey, my name is Chris, and just celebrated 15 months clean and sober.
Way to go, Chris. Proud of you, dude.
My name is Stefan, and I got 6 days.
Stefan. Way to go, dude.
My name is Melissa, and the same county that terminated my rights to my kids just gave me my niece to live with me, and yeah.
All right, get family back. A beautiful thing that happens.
Up front there.
Oh, right in the front
All the way
row,
up front.
Calvin.
My name's Emily, and I just saw my mom after 2 years not seeing her. So it was a good reunion, and she saw me sober.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll celebrate my son. He was playing soccer today fantastically, and they wiped out the other team, so I'll throw that out there.
Wiped them out. Way to go, Ben. We should celebrate a wipeout.
Proud daddy.
All right, y'all, we got time for one more. Who wants to take one more? Celebrating the good news. Anybody? That's me. Oh, right here. See, I knew we had one more.
Today, my grandson Luca, who's 10 years old, won his basketball championship.
All right, Luca. We'll celebrate that. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Tammy Canaday, who's coming onto the stage now. Yes, let's clap for her.
Hey, guys.
All right, Tammy. Well, it's another Saturday night here at Free.
It is. It's been a whirlwind night, so.
It has been a whirlwind.
Thank you for grace from everybody for me, because I've been all over the place.
You've been working the cafe, slinging coffee.
It's been good.
Matt can teach you something about coffee later on tonight. He's a coffee expert.
Yes.
Okay, shall we celebrate with our online people?
All right. Mike says, glad my wife's surgery went well. That's good, Mike.
We'll celebrate that, Mike. Tawny says, man, this is such good news. Tawny is 60 days sober today. Way to go, Tawny. Proud of you.
I talked to your mom this morning, Tawny, and I heard that early, so big celebration.
Yes, that is awesome.
And Jeff says, celebrated 16 months of continuous sobriety on the 14th. It feels so good to be free.
Free of free. Way to go, Jeff. Proud of you, dude. And Carrie says, hello, celebrating spending time with family tonight watching Free. Carrie, we're glad the family's joining us tonight. Celebrate it twice. Jeff, we're celebrating you twice tonight.
Celebrated 14 months on the 14th. Got it.
Oh, on the 14th. Yes, that makes sense. Still
we'll
good
double
to be
celebrate that.
Do we have another? Jen says, celebrating another day sober and grateful for a beautiful day spent with my boo and a friend of ours at a local pop-up market. Enjoyed great weather, food, and awesome vendors. God is so good, y'all. Well, I'm glad you're here from North Carolina, Jen. We're celebrating a good day with you.
Hi, Christy.
Yes, and Christy. Thank you, Tammy, for joining me up here. It's always good to have you up here. All right, y'all, you might know that we are in week 5 of this series on habits. Habits. So we are coming to the end of this series. Actually, there's one more week after this week. And tonight I want to engage with you this question. Do you like the direction your habits are taking you? So in college, I took a course titled, it was a one-semester course, and it was titled Love in the Ancient Christian Tradition, where we were studying what was love then, what is love now, what did love look like, what does it all look like. And part of this one-semester course, we were to pick a very hands-on project in which we would practice love once a week throughout the entire course of the semester. And we were given a list of ideas that we could choose from, or we could come up with our own idea. So me and another buddy from the class, we decided that we would once a week go and volunteer our time at a local dementia nursing home. We went the first week. We went the second week. We went the third week. And by the third week, Ryan was feeling pretty frustrated. I walked into my professor's office. I said, Dr. Phillips, I think we have picked the wrong project. Because, see, every time we go, they don't remember that we were there the week before. It's like they have no recollection of us even being there, of our presence. And if they can't remember us, well, then what difference is it making? Why should we still go? And he said to me in his office that day, he said, Ryan, this project is designed to help you create new neural pathways in your brain. And that can happen, but it only happens through repetitive action. You can't think your way there. You can't write your paper your way there. And then he said, Ryan, is it possible for you to train your brain to love even if there's nothing in return? See, I had to develop new habits in my life. And habits develop through action, doing that action over and over again, even when you don't see it making a difference in the beginning. Because see, when we are developing new habits, you are literally creating new neural pathways in your brain. And yes, this is possible. There's all kinds of research that tells us this is indeed happening. You can create new neural pathways. And remember, it was James Clear who wrote the book Atomic Habits, the book I've been recommending to you throughout the series. I hope you have gotten it by now. I hope you are reading it. He defined a habit by saying a habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. So what is becoming automatic in your life? Do you like the direction your habits are taking you? Benjamin Titus Roberts, he was a pastor, and he was riding a train in the late 1870s. And he was a frequent traveler on this train, so much so the conductor would let him sit in the first class area. And on this particular day, 10 very well-dressed African Americans boarded the train with their ticket in hand that said first class, and so they took their seat in the first class section. Now, keep in mind, slavery was only beginning to be undone a few years prior to this, and so them sitting in the first class, well, it certainly raised some eyebrows. A white passenger stands up, and he's angry. He says, "Is this what we're becoming? You think you're one of us now? You think you're good enough? You think you're worthy to sit in first class?" He was causing a ruckus, causing a scene, so much so the conductor was trying to calm him and the situation down, and then B.T. Roberts stood up. And we're not sure exactly what he said. All we know is for the rest of that train ride, there was absolute peace. You see, there's a place in the New Testament called the book of James where he writes, "Faith without works is dead." You see, in that moment, it didn't matter what B.T. Roberts believed, how much faith he had. If he didn't put that faith into action, what difference would it make? And did y'all know? When the train reached its final destination, those African American men and women, they gathered around B.T. Roberts just outside of the train, and they started singing. He said it was a most beautiful song because, see, as it turns out, these men and women were the Jubilee Singers of Fisk University. They had won international acclaim, introducing white audiences to old Negro spirituals like Steal Away and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, some oldies but some goodies. And what a gift B.T. Roberts experienced on that day. And I wonder, how many gifts have we missed along the way because our habits are actually leading us away from the good gift? And it's worth noting, B.T. Roberts didn't just wake up and arrive one day. I mean, this wasn't just like a single act of courage where he was brave enough to stand up. He had habits in his life developed over years, perhaps even decades, that led him to doing what's right. The faith was already put into action prior to this event. You see, do you like the direction your habits are taking you? And remember, this whole thing hinges on that single question, the question we've been asking throughout this series. Who do you want to become? Did you know a recent study shows us that we are subconsciously asking 3 questions in any given life situation? You are subconsciously asking these in everyday life situations, and you're oftentimes doing it in a matter of a split second. And the 3 questions are, you are constantly asking yourself, what type of person am I? 2, what kind of situation is this? And then, what does a person like me do in a situation like this? You're constantly asking these questions. So you walk into a group of people, and they're gossiping about someone. Do your habits lead you to stick around? Because let's just be honest, they're talking about someone you don't like either. And it's kind of fun, isn't it, to join in the gossip? And it's kind of fun to feel good about yourself by standing on someone else so that you can feel a little bit bigger and better. Or have your habits lead in a different direction to where you walk away because you know that is not actually bringing you to the person you want to become, the person you're called to be. You walk into a gas station, and on this particular day, you are very thirsty. So you grab not just one Gatorade, but you grab 5, and you're holding 3 of them, and you stick 2 under your arms, and you go up to the counter, and you set the 3 down. And the clerk rings you up for 3 Gatorades. In that instant, you're going to ask yourself those three questions. What kind of person am I? What kind of situation is this? And what does a person like me do in a situation like this? Do you walk out of there with 5 Gatorades and say, God is good? God is on my side. I got that 5 for 3 deal today. Or have your habits, are they leading you in a different direction? Because you know what it is to do what's right. So you put the other 2 Gatorades down on the counter and you let the clerk know that you actually owe more money. Or maybe you're dealing with a difficult situation in your family or at work. Maybe a colleague or a family member has said something to you or done something to you and it offended you. You were offended by it. What kind of person am I? What kind of situation is this? What does someone like me do in a situation like this? Are you in the habit of stewing where it consumes your mind and heart on things like revenge and getting them back, except you're going to get them back more than they got you? Or have your habits taken you in a different direction? And now you actually have the tools to do the inner work, and you can deal with the offense that you encountered in healthy ways. You see, who do you want to become? And are your habits helping you become that person? Are there habits you need to break? Are there new habits you need to build? Do you like the direction your habits are taking you? And for just a moment, let's talk about this natural law of reaping and sowing, because you do know you will reap what you sow. Is it true? It was the Apostle Paul who wrote a letter in the first century to the church in Galatia. It's called Galatians. And the thing about the Galatians, you might remember, they were always wanting to go back to their old way. They were always wanting to set up the same old barriers of trying to decide who's in and who's out, who's worthy of God's love, who's not worthy of God's love. And Paul says, because they're wondering why their life isn't going well, he says to them, stop doing that. He ends his letter by saying, make no mistake, God is not mocked. A person will reap what they sow. If you sow a certain type of seed, you will get a certain type of plant. If you plant an apple seed, you'll get what? An apple tree. You will not get grapes, I promise you. Sowing and planting is about what? Action. You might say, man, I'm kind of lonely and I don't really have good friendships in my life. I would ask you, what are the habits you are sowing in your life? Do you call people? These so-called friends? Do you check in on them, see how they're doing? Or are you the one that only calls when you need something? Or you're the one that calls to always do the venting? What are the habits you are sowing? Because you do know it takes action. Healthy relationships, friendships don't just happen. Or you might say, man, it just feels like God is distant. It feels like my relationship with God is kind of non-existent. I would ask you, and you could ask me too, if I tell you these things, you could ask, what are the habits you are sowing? What are you reading? What are you putting in your mind? Who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with people who care to be on some sort of spiritual path, or are you hanging out primarily with people who could give a rip less about spiritual matters? What's your prayer life look like? Conscious contact with God. Are you making conscious contact with God on a regular basis? Because you do know it takes action. Your relationship with others is like your relationship with God. Your relationship with God has to be tended to. Good relationships don't just happen. Or you might say, well, man, I realize that I'm physically unhealthy and I want to be healthy. To which I would ask you, what are the habits you are sowing in your life? Are you eating whatever you want, whenever you want, and however much of that thing you want? Do you have any physical activity in your life? Do you go to the gym? And here's the thing about the gym. You could have all the faith in the world. You could have all the right beliefs that it works. You could even walk into the gym and be an onlooker. And you could say, I see them on the treadmill. I know something works. I see them. I see them lifting weights. I know something about that works because I see them. But what good is it if I don't ever get my butt on the treadmill? What good is it if I don't ever actually pick up the weight? At some point, you have to put your belief into action. It won't just happen. You will reap what you sow. And if you don't like what you're reaping, change what you're sowing. You see, and for some of you, life is not going the way you want it to go. And your impulse, your habit in life, probably from the time you were a little kid, is to blame others or to blame God, because it can't possibly be anything about what you're sowing in your life. You know, there's an Old Testament prophet. His name was Hosea, and he had some very harsh words for Israel. Because, see, Israel as a people, they were called to be set apart. But they were living in the midst of the Assyrian Empire, a very brutal empire. We have stories about what the Assyrians did to their enemies, what they would do to their own people, brutal stuff. And they said, but you know what? We might get some benefits if we jump in bed with the empire. So they cozy up with the empire. Things were going well for a bit, but then things weren't going well. Now the Assyrians are trying to crush them. And what does Israel do? Oh, they start blaming God. Well, God, you just don't love us anymore. You love the Assyrians more than us. And God, you're not protecting us anymore. And Hosea says, stop doing that. You cannot do that. He lays into them and he says, sow for yourselves righteousness, reap faithful love. But you have plowed wickedness. You have reaped depravity. You have eaten the fruit of lies because you have trusted in your way. You reap what you sow. So things aren't going well in your life? Stop blaming God. You're going through hard things? Stop blaming God. If God for you has become one that punishes you when you're bad, it's a God of reward and punishment. You get great rewards when you do good things, but you get punished when you do bad things. Seriously, is that who God is? Find a different image of God. That God is not serving you well. When religious leaders tell you God's going to get you if you're bad, find a different image of God. Run the other way. That image of God is not serving others well. You see, have you been stuck in the blame game? And maybe it's time to look inward. It's time to develop a new way, a new set of habits. And by the way, why do habits matter? Because you reap what you sow. And faith without works is dead. Or as James put it in the New Testament, my brothers and sisters, what good is it if people say they have faith but do nothing to show it? It's good that you believe that God is one. Ha! Even the demons believe this, and they tremble with fear. Are you so slow? Do you need to be shown that faith without actions has no value at all? And y'all, I get it. It can be easy to have faith. You might have all the right head beliefs, but at some point you have to put that belief into action. Did you know the phrase faith without works is dead, which comes directly from the book of James? It is mentioned 3 times in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's mentioned once in Bill's story and twice in the chapter called Into Thinking. That's a joke. Y'all know it. Into what? Action. 2 times there. Do you know early in my second year of sobriety, man, I was working with my sponsor, doing the step work, but then I thought it would be a good idea to disconnect a little bit, disengage, because see, I got to that 9th step. And I realize not everyone in this room, not everyone online, not all of you are 12-steppers. That's okay. This is my process. This is my recovery. And the 9th step, if you're a bit fuzzy, it's when we go to people, actual people, and make amends, clean up our mess. And I had an amends in my life that was tremendously difficult for me to face. So I disconnect, stop going to meetings, stop meeting with my sponsor, stop hanging out with people in recovery. And I didn't relapse, but I got miserable enough. So a few months go by, and I pick up the phone and I call my sponsor. And I said, Terry, I'm ready to get back into the work. I want to start meeting with you again. I want to get reconnected. He said, Ryan, I'm so pleased to hear this. Some of y'all know the story. I'm so pleased to hear this. This is great news. He said, remind me, where are we in the steps? Well, Terry, I believe we are on step 10. Yeah, and he did what y'all did. He said, well, that's great, Ryan. So you made that really difficult amends that you were sitting on? And I said, well, Terry, the thing you need to know about me is I made that amends in my heart. And I'm ready to move on. And he said, that's great, Ryan, but that's not the way this stuff works. And you know what he did? He opened up the big book right into the middle of that chapter called Into Action, and he read me these words. Now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Damn it. You see, I was not, at that time in my life, at that time in my recovery, I was not in a habit of forgiveness. I was in the habit of blame. I would blame God. God, you did this to me. You got me in this situation. You didn't protect me. And God, where were you in my life when all those things happened? You weren't there. And I wanted to blame others. I wanted to make sure they saw their wrongs too, because what if I go to these people and I own my stuff, but they don't own their stuff? They don't say sorry to me, and that ain't going to feel good. But I can also tell you, by that time in my life, I knew it was time. I was ready to begin building a different habit because I so badly wanted to be free. I was so tired of being bound up by the chains of hate. I was so tired of being bound in the chains of the same old, and carrying this baggage that was so heavy, and I didn't want to carry it anymore. I wanted to be free. And let me be real clear on this point, because I think it can so easily be missed. God will love you no matter what. I mean, you can take the action, or you can sit your butt on the couch for the rest of your life and do absolutely nothing, and God is going to love you just the same, because God's love for us is never dependent on what we do. God will love, but think of all the gifts you might miss along the way. And see, what I can tell you is, with lots of prayer and with a little faith that this stuff might actually work if I work it, I was able to make that amends to someone I thought I would never. I had every intention of never talking to this person again. For 8 years, didn't talk to this person. Never wanted to see him again. And after that amends, what I can tell you is that relationship was repaired. And notice I did not say perfect. I said repaired. And if someone would have told me 8 years ago, Ryan, you are going to have this person in your living room. You're going to share a cup of tea together. And in a moment, in an instant, the weight that you've been carrying, it's going to drop off of you so much to an extent where you're going to have a physical response to it in that moment. I would have said, no, you're crazy. I ain't doing this one. If you would have told me, no, you're going to share a cup of tea in your living room, and in a moment, hate is going to be released from your heart, and you are going to know a new freedom, I would have said, no, you're crazy. I'm not doing that one. That's not going to happen. And can I tell y'all, some of you are sitting in the black chairs in the back. You don't get the comfy chairs up front. Yeah, you're my people. You know, when we moved into our first location at Free, this was the Arapahoe Road location. Right before we moved in there, I got a phone call from that person I had made amends to. And they said, hey, I've been following it on social media, and I see that you guys are moving into this actual location, and do you have any needs? And I said, yeah, we have needs, because, see, we have people, but we don't have anywhere for their butts to sit. We don't have chairs. 1 week later, 75 black chairs arrived at our doorstep from someone I had no intention of ever talking to again. You see, without action, think of all the gifts we miss along the way. And what recovery taught me was how to have a habit of owning my stuff. And do I do perfect at this? No. Will you do perfect at this? Probably not. Probably you're going to fall off from your habits. And when we do that, we don't beat ourselves up. We find grace and then we begin again. You see, do you like the direction your habits are taking you? My brothers and sisters, I hope you have heard during this series that you can indeed do hard things. Yes, they're hard. That's why they're called hard things. You could do hard things. You can break harmful and destructive cycles. Yes, it takes action. Yes, it is about starting small. Yes, you cannot give up because you have to remember you will reap what you sow. And yes, you have a God who always loves you, a God who is slow to anger and quick to pour out grace upon grace upon grace for all the times you get it wrong, all the times you step back and say, I'm going to disconnect from this, all the times you say, God, I'm going to do this one, not you, my will, not yours. Grace upon grace upon grace. And if beating yourself up has become a habit in your life, I highly encourage you to drop that habit, get rid of it quickly. It is not serving you well. It will never get you to the person you want to become. Put something else into action. So just like every other week in the series, we have Post-its up here. And during this song is called Happy. It's from NF's new album. Highly recommend it. During the song, I invite you, if you want to write something on one of the Post-its and stick it to the stage, I will pray over them after the end of this, at the end of the evening. If you want to write one belief that you've had, a head belief that you've had up here, you have all the faith in the world, but you haven't put that thing into action yet. What's one head belief you need to put into action? I encourage you to write it and stick it to the stage. Or if you just want to simply sit and reflect and watch this moving video, you can certainly do that too. But if you want to write, now is your time. Man, that's a good one, isn't it? Happy by NF. Check out the whole album. His album is called Hope. He's going to be in Denver in September. I think me and Sailor are going to go, aren't we? At the Ball Arena. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to go too. All right, y'all. Hey, I want to say a word about next week. Matt, would you stand up for a moment? I don't know if people know who you are. And by that, I was, yes, people know Matt. Scott Mounts, raise your hand up in the air. You might even want to stand up a little bit. Scott Mounts. Matt is bringing the message next week. I will be doing a wedding up in Estes Park. Scott Mounts will be the guest storyteller. It's going to be a phenomenal week. Abby is going to be interviewing Scott. It's going to be great. So I hope you all come next week for the closer of this series on habits. But I want to introduce to you tonight, because if you're new with us, you need to know that every single week we have a guest storyteller in the house to join us in the living room to share some of their experience, strength, and hope with the topic at hand. And tonight I am so honored to have here my good friend Tony Grebmeier. His wife Amber is with him tonight for both services. Tony has, let me just say a few words about Tony. First, he's been clean and sober since 2008. He is one who constantly fights for the addict and the alcoholic, those suffering in addiction. He's a business owner, a family man, and I have watched him do habits. He's been a tremendous support to Tammy and I, both Amber and Tony. He was our very second. He was supposed to be the first, but he had to go out of town that week, so we skipped that week. He was our second guest storyteller in the Canaday's backyard, back when we kicked off this gathering with about 3 of us. Actually, it was like 12 of us in the Canaday's backyard to start free back in 2018. And he's been a great support to us along the way. So come on up here, Tony G. Y'all welcome him. Oh, you don't even need steps. Let's do this for a second time, shall we?
Good evening, everybody. How we doing?
Look at that. Look at that. Tony, the other thing you guys need to know about Tony is this dude has helped a ton of people in recovery. And I'm one of those guys. And thank you for being a part of my journey.
Well, man, I'm just honored. I was here earlier at 5, blown away with all the sobriety in the room. Where's the person with 6 days right now? 6 days of sobriety.
Hopefully they're not taking a drink.
All right. Well, I'm just, I love sobriety. It saved my life. Admitting that, I was powerless, that I couldn't do this thing on my own. I was stuck in an apartment, separated from my family and my wife, drinking all day, going to work. I know my partners knew what they were going to get when I got there. And I still can remember, I would drive home and pass out in an intersection waiting for the light to turn green, and then in the honk, and I'd move my vehicle. And I was dying. There's all levels of alcoholics and addicts. You all have your own story. I can't tell you anything but mine. Mine was literally terrorizing myself and others, and they didn't know what they were getting with me. And I will tell you this story because my friend who helped me is watching. On 10/9 of 2008, I had a conversation with my wife. She said some stuff that I needed to hear, that she needed to tell me so she could be free. I went up to my apartment. She went home with the kids. And I just said, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Got out some drugs, got out a little, pen and paper and started writing my suicide note. And I received a phone call from my friend John, and he said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. Because that's what addicts would do, right? You would totally say nothing. Or maybe you would say, I'm getting high. But for me, I was alone, isolated in my apartment, and I didn't care anymore. And John said, hey, I'm coming to see you. And I'm like, oh, great. I was done. And I just remember put everything aside. And about 5 minutes later, John, thank you. John knocked on the door, gave me a big hug, And he says, Tony, your life has meaning and purpose, but how you're living it right now doesn't. Came in, proceeded to sit down and talk to me. And, I swallowed some hard truths in that period of that conversation. A couple of minutes later, another friend, Brandon, who was a fellow pastor, somehow he knew I was hurting and came and shared some stuff. And he gave me what I hope all of you will walk away with tonight is vision for your life. Where you sit right now is not the end of your life. It is the beginning of an opportunity to create the best life possible. And when Brandon finished talking to me, I had a little bit of hope, something that I wasn't, really experiencing at the time. And I put a couple more days together of not drinking, and then I remember I went back to my old ways, which was drinking, and it really lasted until 12/14 of 08, when I had a 44-minute conversation with my mom. And I was up at my wife's house with the kids, and I was listening to kind of what was going on in the background, but I was listening to my mom, and she was just sharing this, like, hey, you can't do life on your own. You need help. Your dad was an alcoholic. I went through it with him. You have a grandfather who's an alcoholic. You have like a lot of people who are alcoholic, and you could break the cycle. I'm like, break the cycle? I'm like, what? And what I realized was she was telling me, like, I could create that new life right here, right now. There's a great quote from Buckminster Fuller. It says, to change an existing reality, you need to build a new model that makes that existing model obsolete. I can't drink today and expect my life to be any better. My life is amazing today without a drink or a drug. So at the 44-minute mark, I said to my mom, fine, I'm done. I am an alcoholic. I need help. I went home. I took a test online, pass, fail. I called the only person I knew on the phone. And I said, hey, Chris, I need help. He's like, what do you want? I said, I need to go to a meeting. He goes, when do you want to go? And I'm like, tomorrow.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right? And I had a lot to swallow. I had a lot to think about. And so he picked me up the next day, and he took me to my very first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I sat and I heard my story. And I remember at the end of the meeting, a gentleman by the name of Dale walked up and handed me a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and said, if you read this, the first 164 pages at least, it might just change your life. And I got to tell you, if you never read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's for anybody. It doesn't matter where you're at in your journey in life. Like, pick it up. There's so much good stuff in it. And I promise you, you can replace the word alcohol with anything, and you will find yourself going, isn't that interesting? Like, that sounds like me. That sounds like something of me. And that was really kind of where my life began to change. Little by little, things got better. It wasn't straight. For me, I call life a journey. It's all over the place. But I have a belief today in a program. I have a sponsor. I have people that I get to work with who look up to me. I've repaired my relationship with my kids. My wife and I are coming up on 25 years of marriage in July after being separated for 3 years.
Yeah, we'll clap for that.
So, if you want change, the topic is habits.
Yeah.
Things got to change.
Talk to us a little bit about that, because you told me that you had a disease mindset, but you had to shift that to a empowerment mindset. And what does it mean? What's an empowerment mindset?
Well, an empowered mindset for me is just when you start thinking differently. You all know what you're doing, right? If you think about where you're at right now, you can lie to yourself until you're blue in the face. You've been good at that. And I was really good at lying to myself, thinking it's all good, man. Everything's fine. There's no problem here. But everybody around me, all the people in my life were going, there's something wrong with Tony. And I just lived in the disease. And then once I got help and I understood it, then I started reading the literature and I started talking to people and I started surrounding myself with different people. And I had to erase 99% of the people on my phone. I had to disconnect the things that I was doing before to get what I needed so I could get the new result that I wanted. Like, if you want to drink, there's a liquor store down the street. Go drink. That's only going to fix that moment. And you're going to have amplified issues on top of that. And so I just realized, man, I had to change the way I thought. And they say, it's just kind of what I believe AA stands for, is an attitude adjustment.
Mm.
And I needed that attitude adjustment. And so when I changed my thinking, my life changed. And I didn't have a disease mindset anymore because I had a bunch of things that started working. Call your sponsor on a daily basis, go to a meeting, reach out and be of service. A fellow member here, Jim, always used to tell me, Tony, if you want to be of service, it's very easy. Go to a grocery store, push in a shopping cart. That's service. Hold a door open for somebody. Pick up a piece of trash. It doesn't take a lot to get into service and get into action. And little by little, this thing went from like poor judgment to smart thinking. And then next thing you know, little by little, it was able to put days and weeks and months together, and my life changed.
So what do you think it is that makes habits can be hard, right? To get into that new way, to develop healthy habits, it takes action. What keeps us from actually putting that thing into action? And I'm reminded, Tony, the first time we hung out together, we had breakfast together at a restaurant. I can't remember the restaurant's name. It's closed now. But you started talking to me the very first time about drainers and drivers. And I know these are really important in your life. So would you also talk about drainers and drivers?
Absolutely. So drainers are the things you absolutely, without a doubt, 100% know they're sucking the life out of you. They're things that you literally are doing and you're like, I hate doing this. Like can we admit we probably have some of those things, right? There's things on a list that you put and it's up here. And then there's things that you love doing. And so for me, I love sitting down with men today and just breaking bread, having conversations about the tough stuff. That's a driver today for me. Maybe for them, it's a total drainer, but when they leave that conversation, I hopefully have helped them. I have a very simple motto in life. My goal is to leave you better than I found you. And so drainers are something you can go home tonight and do. You put 3 things that are draining in your life, and then you can ask yourself some simple questions. Do you want them to continue in your life? So I use this in business. We have team members. They're going through a bad spell. Maybe something's not working, or I'm looking at hiring and bringing on somebody new. I use drainers and drivers. I put them up on the board. I said, tell me 3 things about your last boss that drained you and 3 things that drove you about your last boss. I promise you, if you identify really, really quick, you'll realize that there's a pattern and they correlate and they flip. And it's too much to kind of teach just like up here, but the idea behind it is if you go to drainersanddraivers.com, I have a free 5-day course, 100% free. I don't need your anything. Just take it. And what you'll realize in 5 days, you have habits and you've identified some things about yourself. And then we give you practical ways to kind of work through them.
Yes, and Tony did not ask me to do this, but we do have his journals here. It's the Be Fulfilled journal. I know he's got other content too, but this is a really good journal. If you're looking for a great journal, we have these here by the ping pong table in the cafe, and drainers and drivers are in this. So if you're looking for a great journal, they'll have the Be Fulfilled journal. But Tony, tell them what's the 5 most important things to you?
That's easy and hard at the same time. Easy is that God and AA have to be first in my life, 100%. I was born a Jew, parents divorced, I went to Catholic school, my dad was Catholic, lived with a Christian family, married a non-practicing Mormon.
You're messed up, man.
I put it all in a Vitamix, hit puree, and came to believe there's got to be something bigger than you and me. So I believe in God, higher power. That's at the top of my list. And AA has helped me to discover that. Second, absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, is my wife. Number 3 are my kids and my family. 4, friends. You don't need a lot of friends. You need some good friends. 2 friends showed up one day and saved my life. One of my angels walking earth, his name's John. And number 5 is my business partner and my company that I get to go to every single day when I work, and I love it. And if I screw any of that stuff up, my life's going to be over. The good thing is I don't walk around not talking about sobriety. I don't hide that I'm an addict. I run a pretty decent-sized company. I think the community that I built around me realizes I used to lie, steal, cheat, and hide. Now I'm alive and I thrive in being of service and helping others, and that helps me to wake up in the morning with a contribution and connection mindset. And that's ultimately what has saved me, is just finding a way to be of service. You're waiting for the phone to ring, you'll be waiting for a long time. Get into action, pick up the phone, call somebody. I wasn't thinking like that. I was in a disease mindset when I wanted to take my life. John was thinking, I don't know what to do, but I'm going to go check on my friend after probably talking with my wife. And next thing I know, I'm here to tell you that one day at a time really does work if you actually really want it. I was in debt up to my ears. No credit card company was loaning me anything. I had to take back a car to a dealership and hand them the keys. Like, I've done everything. My story isn't like yours, so don't let your story be like mine. I have compassion, not a comparison mindset. I listened to every one of you guys when you said your sobriety and this and that tonight, and I got to tell you, like, you don't know me, but I'm walking beside you, right with you. I'm not ahead of you or behind you. I'm with you. And if I can be of any service to you, Ryan can get you connected. My life is all about service. This is what has saved me, given me the life that I have today. My relationship with my wife is based on a lot of valuable principles that came from AA. And it really is, if you've ever opened the book and gone through it, the how of it: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. Who? Me. Not her. Me. And so we took a lot of things off the table when we were separated. We took the word divorce off the table, and we made a decision that love is a decision. And if you really want to work on stuff, you can.
Yeah.
And that ultimately, little by little, changed our life. And like I said, like, it's a miracle that she's here and I'm here in the same room, but that we're together, because we shouldn't be. I screwed that much up. And today, we're in love, like two little kids that just had a first kiss. And, I can't wait to just continuously, we're empty nesting and having fun doing that, but to celebrate life, where I wanted to walk away from all of it. And that's the hope that I hope I leave you guys with tonight. No matter where you're at, if you're just starting, you've been on this journey for a while, keep going. It's very easy to quit. And my wife and I had this conversation one time. You can quit today on your marriage or your sobriety, and you'll think to yourself, well, it'll get better. It'll be okay. Or you can actually work at it, and it'll be amazing, because it's hard either way. Hard to walk away, hard to stay. But you'll figure out what way you want to go, and then make sure you ask for help. That's the number one thing that I hope I leave you with tonight. Ask for help. Life is hard. It's scary. Get 5 numbers before you leave tonight from the same sex. Guys help guys, women help women. That's my ask. Get 5 new guys tonight if you're in your young journey of sobriety or whatnot, to say, hey, I need help. Like, hey, can I call you? My phone is filled with men. If I call them right now, wherever I'm at in the world, they would answer. And I'll keep dialing until I get somebody to answer. It may take me 15 calls, but somebody will answer. You just want to have that mindset of like, I need it and I need help today. And then I think those are really good foundational structures to form small little baby habits.
And I have to tell you, Tony, you helped me with starting to build the habit of the phone, because this dude would call me, and when people, my old thinking was, if you're calling, you need something from me. So this dude would call just to check in. And I didn't know, I had to develop that habit. I mentioned that in the sermon. Like, I did not have that habit. It did not come naturally to me. And then Tony, he likes to get the phone and hit the FaceTime button. So oftentimes I get a FaceTime call from Tony, and you got to look him in the eyes.
Just don't call my trainer. He answers naked. I'm like, no!
I'm not calling your trainer, dude.
So I just realized for me, there's 3 L's that I always tell people that get you into the rooms of AA: liquor, love, or law. I didn't get busted by the law, but love brought me in there, and so did liquor. And I'll do anything that I can to save my arse from ever being separated from the woman that I said yes to, on July 15th. Sorry, that's your birthday. July 24th, 1998. I'll do anything because I don't want to screw it up, man.
Yeah.
And so I'm surrounded by like a phone call. I can be on the phone for 20 seconds and I can hopefully help you to get what you need and I can get what I need and I can move on. You know, it's just about like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, man, I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day. And by the way, I'm proud of you. Like, it doesn't take much because I didn't hear that growing up very much. My parents were busy working, separated, you know, going between homes. And my mom passed in August of last year. And I got about 5 messages left on my phone. They're from her. I deleted all the other ones. And she told me that she was proud of me. And my mom saved my life. She got me into the room so I could be here tonight with you. And those are the little things that I have to remind myself. They're small, but they have that ripple effect. They have the way to impact people's lives. And so I'm just honored to be here. Tammy and Ryan, I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Walking into your backyard, it had more than 3 people. I think it had like 25, and we all held hands, and we all shared stories, and we sang. And their vision for like wanting to do this was amazing, to leave where they were at Arapahoe to come find this. And I went on a little bit of mission with you to try to do some of that. And what you guys have built, I hope you guys understand, it ain't free. This cost a lot of time, sweat equity, money and donations, all that stuff. And these guys give everything they have so that you guys have a place you can call home. And I'm just very honored to be here, to be able to sit up on stage and share a little bit of my life with you tonight. But these guys are changing lives. So could we give Ryan and Tammy a round of applause?
Thank you, man. Love you, dude. Tony, you're going to stick around a few minutes afterwards?
Sure.
If you want to talk. If you want to talk to Tony, get to know more of his story, more of his recovery, more of his habits. I mean, this is a dude I think of when I think of habits and how he does business, family life. I love watching you do all of it. Amber, thank you for letting us be part of yours and Tony's and the family's life. We love y'all, and I'm grateful for you, Tony. Thanks for being here, dude. Thank you. And I think you got taller, too. How tall are you now?
You stand up there, I'm still taller than you.
All right. All right, y'all. The way we close it down on a Saturday night is by kind of like how we do celebrations. If you're new with us, we do the same thing, but we call these heartaches. The burdens that you carry, you don't have any business carrying them alone. You suck at carrying them alone, so we do it together as community. We believe that God always hears the cries of the people. So if you are carrying something tonight, if you're online carrying something tonight, put it in the comments. We want to lift you up there, pray for you there. Put it in the YouTube comments, Facebook comments. If you're here, just raise up your hand and they'll bring you around a mic. And let's heartache together. Let's take 3. And I'm already seeing some hands. So you boy, oh, Ben, I didn't even get you mic. Sorry about that.
Hi, my name is Patience. I just want to lift up my dad who's still out on a relapse and just pray that he finds his way back to the light.
All right. Prayers for your dad, Patience. Glad you're here.
All right. Hello. Prayers for the family of Danny Brewer. She died this week, and she was 36.
Derek, prayers for my best friend Hallie, who goes through health struggles, but prayers for my dad, who walked out of rehab and no one knows where he's at. So lift him up that he finds his way back.
Lifting up prayers, brother. Thank you for sharing.
I'd like to get prayers for one of my employees that we thought went home, but we found him in the bathroom overdosing on meth, and he was gone, and he got revived, and we're trying to get him some help.
All right, prayers for them.
My name is Roman, and I'm sad that I'm moving from my friends and my family.
Roman, what a brave thing to share. We're going to pray for you.
I'd like to pray for my girlfriend's grandma. She's been sick, and I just want her to feel better and feel just, we ask for her well-being.
All right. Prayers for your girlfriend's grandma.
I'd like to pray for a friend of ours who walked away from rehab last week and hasn't come back, and nobody's heard from him. So if we could just lift him up.
All right, praying for this friend.
I'm going to pray for my little brother who's 61 days sober, that he embraces the new habits that will keep him free and happy.
All right, prayers and lifting up your little brother.
I'd like prayers for my childhood best friend's family who just found out she passed away this morning.
My stepson is heading into rehab on Thursday of this week. He's set up for 60 days. I'd like to pray for his success.
All right, lifting up your stepson. It is possible.
Another friend of ours is went into the wind, took off. Mike, put a prayer out for him.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning him. I know who you're talking about. We're lifting him up in prayers, and I know people here know him. Prayers for him. Matt, you going to join me up here? Can I have that mic, Ben? Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Hey, I tend to stay pretty quiet during heartaches, but I do have something I'd love the community to join in prayer with me on. We have someone in our family that we love, and she is in the battle for her life with this disease of alcoholism. It is a life and death situation. She reached out this week, and I was able to get in touch with Jerome, who's on our board of directors. Jerome is our expert in treatment centers. He's our resource advocate, and Jerome's really done his thing. And anyway, I would ask you all to lift her up in prayer. She is on a plane right now, flying out to Denver to enter into treatment. And it's all serious. We see the effects of this disease of addiction, and now it gets more personal. So prayers for her and prayers for all who are suffering. Thanks for joining me up here, Matt. I love the vest, dude. I love it. You ought to do that more often. Next week. All right, you want a heartache with our online community? You take the first one, but you got to get on that side of me. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say the name. Go ahead, you try.
That's Tojamus.
This is for my friend who is escaping a narcissistically abusive relationship of 20 years. Prayers go out to you.
Yes. Christy says, prayers that God has his hand over FedEx and that Jen's job is protected. Christy, praying for you and Jen. I'm glad you all are here tonight.
Roger Weishart is praying for all struggling in recovery. And amen. We need a reminder that this is a community of people in recovery.
Yeah, we celebrate it together and we heartache it together. Good to see you, Roger. Tawny says, prayers for a friend of mine who didn't make it to sober living. Tawny, prayers for that family, that friend, and all those who have been affected. And I'm so glad you're with us tonight. That's our last one, Matt. Thanks for being here with me. Next week, man. Next week. Matt's going to be bringing a message. It's going to be good. Hey, y'all, I should tell you, just like I do every single week, one of the ways we keep the mission here of breaking the silence of addiction thriving in the community, I'll just speak plainly with you. We don't exist without your generous giving. Tony alluded to that too up here. Not alluded, he mentioned that. It takes your giving. It's how we keep the mission thriving. It's how we keep the doors open. So thank you to all of you who have been a part of that, who've made that a spiritual practice in your life, who've done that sacrificially. I do encourage you, if you call this place your home, if you've been impacted this evening by this community or by this community at all, maybe it was a past evening, but if you've been impacted by this community, I encourage your generous giving. We have a giving box just over here with giving on it and just outside these doors with giving on it. And if you would rather do the electronic way, because it is 2023, there are 3 online options for giving. You can download the app. It's free. All the content is on our app, all of our guest storytellers, all of our messages, but you can give there once or monthly or weekly, however you want to do it. Or you can go to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and same deal there. You can give once, weekly, monthly, one time, however you want to do it. Or text the number on your screen, and it'll walk you through a simple set of instructions. These are all all safe and secure ways of giving, and we are really, really grateful for your giving to this community. Shall we close in a prayer? I invite you to open your hands, sign of openness, open to God moving in our midst, and take a big deep breath in, breathe in, Spirit of the universe, the God who is always with us, within us, among us, around us. And let's go out with the third step prayer. If you don't know it, it'll be on your screen. It goes like this: God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties. The victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Grace and peace to you all. Have a great evening.